Hey, what's up, guys? All right. So, sorry about getting on here a little late. We had to move our trucks around outside, and so the trash guy could get in there. So, anyways, I'm super excited to have you here. Those of you guys that are here, and those of you guys that are going to be listening to the replay later. So, welcome to the call today. I call this Mindset Monday. And really, what we're going to be talking about today are beliefs. Okay. And so, what I want you guys to think about is like, there's this idea of like when we're dreaming, we sort of sometimes feel like the dream is real. Okay. And then we awake from, from our dream, or we awake from our dream and we realize, that, oh, it's just a dream, right? It's not actually real. I had this the other night. It felt so real in my mind. And then I was actually reluctant to see that it wasn't real. And sometimes that's really great. Sometimes we kind of wish we could go back into the dream. And, for most people, I would say actually everyone, the life they know in this moment is truly a dream of their past. Okay. It's the what they know at this moment, the life that you're living right now is based on your beliefs. Okay. It's based on the beliefs that people have, um, you know, have considered to believe, over the years, or have been trained to believe. Okay. And so perhaps you can think back to a time in your life when you had a belief so strong only to find out that it wasn't really true. Okay. And we say it wasn't real when we were children. Many of us had beliefs. Some of those beliefs looked like Santa Claus was real. I know I thought Santa Claus was real until like I was like age 12. And that this man was going to come down the chimney and have these magical powers and deliver all sorts of presents. And maybe that was a belief that many of us bought into as children. I know when I was young, I had this belief that Santa Claus actually existed, and I thought that he would bring me, like everything that I'd always wanted if I was just a good girl, right? And I remember I wanted one of like a particular present, like a game station or something like that, because my friends had them. And I had bought into this belief that Santa Claus would bring this to me later. And to find out, of course, that this belief was not real. Santa Claus wasn't real. And we look back and we kind of chuckle at like the things like this, right? And maybe you were taught the existence of Santa Claus or not, but I'm willing to bet that if you think back to a belief that you held as a child or as growing up, that one day came to be revealed to you that it wasn't actually true, that it wasn't really the way it was, at the time that you believed in that belief. It was very powerful to you. I remember my friends thinking had already believed or already found out that Santa Claus wasn't true, wasn't real. And I remember I continued to believe because I was like, no, like it has to be real. And it was so powerful, in fact, that it created an experience of life for myself, and also motivated certain choices and decisions in my life at that time, just like the belief of working harder. Okay. And we're going to get into this. And so even though some of the beliefs that we hold on to are not as, you know maybe out there as believing in Santa Claus, or the Santa Claus God, because that was like another belief, when I was younger, is that, I remember being told this story that God was kind of this man in the sky with a white beard and a robe. And he was going to be, he was going to reprimand those that were bad and give to those that were good. And this man had special powers. And, it was always a he, it was never a she, by the way. And he could see everyone, and if they were good or bad, and others, and have different beliefs. Okay. And so what was some of the beliefs that you've had over the years as you've, grown up, that you believe so heartedly, like wholeheartedly, to be true? Okay. And so this is what I really want to get into, because those of you guys that follow me, um, most of you guys believe that working hard is something it's a belief that we wholeheartedly believe to be true, that we must work harder in order to look fit, right? In order to have a body that we love. And so I really want you to just kind of think back to when you were a child, what when some of those beliefs came to be revealed, that they were not actually true, you know what were those beliefs? And what was the belief that was adopted after that? And so I give these kind of examples because it's so easy to see these beliefs as being real for us at one point in time, like Santa Claus, okay, or another belief like you know, yeah, like Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy or whatever that might be at a time that was real for many people when you were younger. And then there came a time when we had to face the reality that that was not true. And immediately when there was this acknowledgement of realizing that it wasn't true, all of a sudden we became aware, and we caught our parents sneaking the present for delivering the money from the Tooth Fairy, or maybe the older brother or sister broke the news to us and said, by the way, Santa Claus isn't real, you know, or Tooth Fairy isn't real, or whatever. And in that moment, oftentimes, if you remember back, what was what followed that was a sense of sadness when there was a realization that I had this belief at one point for so long, and I believed in it I had so much belief in it to be true, only come to realize that it's not. And that was that's a very scary moment to let go of that belief, or for that belief to really be shattered. Okay. And so for us, it was followed off in a time by a sense of really like sort of pain and sadness and insecurity, and thoughts like, well, what do I do now? What do I believe now? If I believe that to be true, and I had so much belief and power and trust in that, and decisions that were based on that truth. And today I come to see that it's not that way. Well, then what does my life mean to me? What do all the things in my life mean? And what do those choices and those decisions that I've put so much weight behind, so much importance behind, what does that mean for me today? And, I gave again those kind of radical ideas of belief because it's easy to see that, oh yes, I once believed in that. And then I came to realize that it wasn't true. But what about when our beliefs hit closer to home, such as, as this idea that we have to work hard in order to look fit? Is that really a belief that is serving us? Or I have this belief that if I get married, that my husband or wife will be there for the rest of my life, and that I'm going to live happily ever after, only to find ourselves in a different reality, right? That goes against the traditional belief. Now, what do I do? Okay, I have this belief that that carbs are bad, or that there's a certain right way to eat and a wrong way to eat, because of what I've been trained to believe, from reading all sorts of, and listening to podcasts and reading newspapers and all that. Maybe I believe that this person in my life, that I can trust them, only to find that they betrayed me in a particular way. Or maybe I have a belief that I'm going to work for a particular company for the rest of my life, and something happens, the company goes bankrupt, or I get laid off, or a job opportunity comes my way where I get this different offer that presents me an opportunity that I didn't think would ever come my way. Okay. So what I want you to do real quick is ask yourself, what beliefs can you go to in your life? Like, what beliefs do you have? Okay. And take a moment and reflect on a few beliefs that you have held so dear to your heart, that you believe so strongly at a time, and what occurred when the belief dissolved immediately. Okay. What happened when that belief dissolved? When you came to this realization that, this belief isn't true. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So kind of think back, and for me personally, because I've been through this transition, I used to believe that looking fit was something that required hard work, suffering, hours in the gym, measuring my food, just constant obsession, right? I had this belief that I would be successful, I would earn a certain status, I would be happy the harder I worked. And I drove that into the ground. I learned this from my parents, and I created a very stubborn mentality, and I just put my head to the ground from when I was like 12 years old up until last year when I was 33, and I had this idea that if I just grinded and worked harder, that I would earn everything that I wanted. Okay. And last year, I realized that that belief was not true, that working harder did not make me look fitter, happier, more successful, anything that I wanted. And so, what I want you to do is think back to a belief that you've had that you believed so wholeheartedly in, and it dissolved, and because you realized it wasn't true. And so, what took place for you in that moment? What fear was there for you? What opportunity was there for you in that moment? Okay. And notice that what gave that belief power that you had was not the belief itself, but it was your belief in the belief that made it so powerful, right? So for example, my belief was that you had to work hard and that I had to eat a certain way. I had to follow a meal plan. I had to follow a certain set of macros. And it's not that the belief of it was so powerful. It was that I believed in that belief. And I committed my whole being, my whole life to doing that one thing. Okay. And the thing that gives those beliefs power is not the belief itself, but it is the belief, my belief in that belief that I've been taught, that I've adopted. And so, what are the beliefs that you hold true? At one point in time, human beings believed, as we all know, like the world to be flat. And they thought that if you or if you sailed too far out into the ocean, that you would just fall off the edge of the earth. And then one day we learned that, actually the earth is round, right? And immediately our beliefs changed. But think about how many people lived on this planet at a time with deep fear and concern of falling off the edge of the planet, that it was so real, that sailing too far out and losing their life in such a way. And, we kind of maybe chuckle at some of these ideas, but sincerely, how many beliefs are directing your life, defining the choices that you make? You thinking that you have to just grind, that it has to be hard, that you have to do X, Y, and Z to look fit, all because you've just adopted this belief from somebody else or the media. And you've defined these choices, the decisions that you make, when really nothing makes them absolutely true except for your belief in them. So, your belief in that belief, meaning there may not even be any evidence saying that it makes sense to hold that belief, okay, and to make choices and decisions in life based on it. Or maybe there is evidence, but that doesn't mean that it's actually real, okay? I personally believe, some people believe that you have to not eat sugar to live a long life. I personally believe that it's just their belief in that, that they actually feel good about not eating sugar, which is what allows them to think that they're going to live longer. To me, I let my clients eat as much sugar as they want. That's fine. As long as they hold the belief that this is fine for me, this is healthy, and I feel great and I love it, then that belief will become real and true for them, that it doesn't matter if they eat sugar. But if you believe the food that you eat to be not good for you, well, then if that's the case, if you're eating something that you believe you shouldn't be eating, that in itself is the resistance that a lot of people find themselves with, and ends up causing them to really create that stress and for them to gain weight. Okay. But most people do it every single day and never even challenge the beliefs that they hold. And so my invitation to you today is to ask the question, what are my beliefs? What are the beliefs I have around looking fit? What are my beliefs about relationships? What are my beliefs about my career and what it takes to be successful? What are my beliefs about why I'm here on this planet? What are my beliefs about family? And start to recognize the beliefs that you hold or the values, okay? And be willing to just acknowledge that just first acknowledge that you just have this belief. So maybe some of you guys, you say family comes first, or my body comes first. And that means that I must, drop everything that I'm doing in order to take care of my family or take care of my body. Okay. And that may also mean no matter how destructive certain aspects of my being or of being with my family or certain family members may be, maybe that means that I still make sure to make time for them just in case they change one day. Okay. Because as they say, that, like blood is thicker than water, right? That's what they say. So what are the beliefs that you have come to hold dear and true to your heart? Okay. And again, just want to tap into, I believed that working harder was the only way to look fit. I was willing to do whatever it took. I was willing to spend all my time in the gym, eat whatever I had to do, because looking fit was incredibly important to me. And it still is important to me. But I think, you know, what's more important to me now is the sense of peace and freedom that comes with being fit. And so I've changed my beliefs that you don't have to work hard. And because those are my new beliefs, I still look fit and I don't work hard. And so, what do you believe to be the purpose for why you're here? What are your beliefs? Because it is ultimately these beliefs that we hold that truly mark our destiny. They define where we're going to end up in the future. They dictate our choices that we make on a daily basis, and our decisions in life that ultimately create the foundation to our life. Okay, we will build the reality that will come to fruition. You know, my beliefs about money, my beliefs about my body, about what happens after I pass. Many people live in a particular way because of a belief about what they think will happen, right? When they die, or you know, and so they live in a very specific way. If I believe that, you know, all is one, and that when I die, I will become one with all that is, I will live a very different life, right? As an example. And then if I hold the belief that when I die, I'm either going to heaven or hell based on how I live, based on how I live my life, maybe I have the belief that when I die, that's the end. And then I move into a pure space in a bit for the rest of my life, my eternity. And that's all that there is, right? It just goes dark depending on which belief that I hold will determine how I live my life. And so for me, it's not as important to define our beliefs true or not. It's not whether working harder is right or wrong, although sometimes it's important. But a lot of times, the beliefs that we hold within us can't really be quantified as true or false. But for sure, the beliefs that we hold are going to motivate the choices and the decisions in life that we make, and will ensure a particular outcome. For example, when I believed that looking fit was something that was hard and that you had to struggle with, and it required you to nitpick everything, and workouts had to be intense, and you know, food had to be boring, and I had to measure everything and count my steps and all of that, that led me to making certain decisions, and of, you know, just feeling like I had to do it. Every day felt like a mountain to climb. It felt like a battle against myself, and it created an outcome that I didn't want for myself. I didn't want a life where I was a slave to the gym and feeling in control or out of control with food. And so for me, the best litmus test in regards to the beliefs we hold are, what experience does it create within us? What outcomes are our beliefs creating in our lives? And if the outcome, and if the outcome uh, or the experience that we are inside of are not the ones that we really want, then we must be willing to change our beliefs. And this is when I realized last year, when I got sick, and gained about 20 pounds in 2 months from working harder in the gym, and eating perfectly clean. When I realized that working harder was not serving me, it wasn't creating the outcome that I wanted, I realized I had to change my belief that working harder was not true. And you know, this is easier said than done, because we have been taught to believe that harder is better. No pain, no gain. You know, pain is weakness leaving the body, and that, you know, suffering is a good thing. But you know, and even if we hold the belief that we know is not true, oftentimes many people will hold on to it just because it's familiar to them, right? And that was something that I did for a long time. I realized I wasn't getting stronger. I realized I wasn't getting leaner. I wasn't getting fitter when I was working harder, but I was too afraid to let that go. Okay. I held the idea of being a hard worker very close to my identity and how I saw myself, right? And who I believed myself to be. I mean, I literally almost got tattooed on my body, hardest worker in the room. Like, I was committed to like be known as the hardest worker in the room. I was willing to die trying. I was willing to die. I remember being underneath a barbell when I was prepping for my bodybuilding show, and thinking my legs might collapse underneath me, and I may not be able to stand back up, because I was so deprived of food and I was so exhausted, and I was willing to do whatever it took to win. And And I wasn't willing to let that go, that identity of being a hard worker, when I realized that working hard was not true, like wasn't a true belief. And so if we let go of a belief, it oftentimes is almost an experience as though I'm losing myself. I'm letting go of a belief about myself. I'm losing my identity. And so if I feel as though I'm losing my identity in a way, I feel like I'm losing, I feel like I'm losing myself. That can be a very, very scary thing for us. And if we let go of a belief, the question becomes, well, then which new belief is going to replace it? What am I going to believe in now? What belief do I take on to take the place of the way in which, what I perceived before? And I was very, very scared. I was afraid to see myself as weak or lazy or soft, or afraid to stop challenging myself. And so it becomes a little tricky. And this is why, as you've heard me speak in the past, why your vision is so incredibly important. What we aspire to is so imperative, because what it is that we aspire to tell us the beliefs that we must adopt. If I want to know peace in my life, if I want to know a sense of connection to the people in my life, if I want to know experiences and freedom, if I want to build, relationships with the people in my life, then there is a set of beliefs that I need to adopt to create that experience of life within me and manifest those outcomes. I can't continue to be a slave in the gym and I can't say I want this and then do this. I can't say I want freedom and then just attach myself to the gym and food and constantly be thinking about what workout I'm gonna do, or what I'm gonna be eating next. I want freedom from that shit. So I've got to train myself to believe in something else instead of thinking that it requires hard work and it's got to be perfect. I had to change my beliefs. And the beliefs that I hold that do not aspire to that end result that I want, the freedom, are the ones I must be willing to look at and possibly challenge and most likely change. And my unwillingness to change my belief is going to determine or make it certain that I stay exactly where I am in life, not just experientially, but also practically, the outcomes that I have. And each thing we define as important, we define it as important or not important. And based on our beliefs and how strong those are, and so the things that are most important to us, those are the things that resonate with the strongest values that we hold inside ourselves. And the things that we find least important are the things that tend to line up in our value system a little bit lower down on the scale, right? Lower in terms of importance. And so no two people are necessarily going to be wired the same. For some people, their body is going to be the most important thing. For others, it's going to be money. For others, it's going to be family. For other people, it's adventure. For other people, it's a sense of spiritual connection or peace. For other people, it's providing a service. For other people, it's just where they live. It's the communities that they're involved with, and that they're connected to. For others, it's the status that they hold, winning. It's the power they have. Each of us has a set of values that are tied to those beliefs. And what we decide is as important or not important is based on the beliefs that we hold. And much of what I'm sharing with you right now are things that you already know. And when you hear them, you're just reminded of it and you go, yeah, okay, great. Yes, absolutely. I know that. But very few people actually look at our beliefs and assess if it actually makes sense. And are willing to let go of the beliefs that are no longer serving us and adopt the ones that do serve us. And again, the litmus test is, the outcome. The beliefs that we hold will determine our experience in our life and the outcomes that we get in our life, the body we have, the life we live, the schedule we have. And if we have a different way of believing, a very different outcome will ensue. And so as we become more and more clear, and we decide where we want to end up in life and what we want to create and the experience we want to have in life, then it's time to align our beliefs with that outcome. Make sure that they aligned with the reality, aligned with the reality that we choose to live. So when I work out, I need to make sure my beliefs are in line with the freedom and the peace of mind that I want in my life. So when I work out, I go into it thinking that there's nothing I have to do. There's nothing that I have to, there's not a certain pace I have to go. There's not a certain rep I have to do. There's not a certain food I have to eat. I have freedom. I have peace and know that whatever I choose to do is in line with where, it gives me freedom, that freedom of choice. Okay. And so take a moment and ask yourself, what are some of the things that you aspire to? What is important to you? Because one thing is for certain is that in order to be fulfilled in this life, we must have a picture of the future, right? Of what we want to live, of how we want to live. We must give ourselves something to live for, something to aspire to. We must know why we're living and give ourselves a sense of purpose, and know, what are we moving towards? What do I have to live for, tomorrow? Because the moment that we no longer have something to live for in relationship to where tomorrow is, where tomorrow's taking us, as soon as we no longer have a hope for where we are going and where we're going to end up, this is when pain and suffering is going to ensue. This is when we no longer live a fulfilled life, and we begin to just go through the motions. And as soon as we start just going through the motions, living the habit of our life, that's when we slowly start to die. We slowly start to go into what I call a sleeping state, where we're just kind of going through the motions. We're living life going through the motions. We're on autopilot, and this is not living. This is getting by. And there's a big difference between living passionately and just getting by. And again, our beliefs are going to determine whether we just permit ourselves to get by, or whether we truly live for what we believe to be possible. The belief structure that many people hold, they're not living for any kind of tomorrow. They're not aspiring to achieve anything greater for themselves or their family or humanity. And as a result, they have a fancy prison that they've constructed around them. They may be able to choose what they eat or what workout they do, and they may come and go from their houses as they please. But if we're trapped in the routine of life and we're just going through the motions in that sleeping state, and we're not really aspiring with passion for what we are going to create or build or move toward in terms of tomorrow or today, then in a way we are still in prison. The only difference is that it's not an external prison. We're not actually behind bars. We can come and go as we please. We may not have the bars around us, but the prison becomes our own making. The prison is in the prison is in our own minds, in our own emotion, our own bodies, and it is you who holds the key and can unlock the doors to any reality you choose. I remember when I finally made that decision that I was going to live a life with more peace and freedom. I felt like I got out of my prison. I was living in a prison, a self-constructed prison, and I was a slave to the gym and a slave to my diet. And I lived a very miserable life and constantly striving, thinking that if I just worked a little harder, that I would get there, right? And many people, even though they wield this huge potential, they have at their fingertips and they have with their extraordinary power, they choose to play small. They choose to stay safe inside the comfort zone of what is familiar to them. And rather than challenge themselves and face the beliefs and put them to the test, and or like really ask themselves if these beliefs really make sense. And if their beliefs are really taking them to where they want to go, they just live for the sake of living. They live just for another day, getting through the day. And what I'm going to say is that if at any time you find yourself getting through the day, that is when you must be willing to shake yourself. You must be willing to wake yourself up and aspire for the greatness that you can create for tomorrow. Okay. And as soon as you are living and aspiring to the greatness that is possible for you, you will step into the experience of a much greater life starting today. And in this moment, you will live with a passion within, just that aligns you with the true freedom that you really want and the body that you really want. And, that is my gift to you. That is what I hope for you. I hope that what you're doing, that where you are going and you are making decisions and your beliefs are in line with where you want to go. Again, you can't say that I want peace and a fit body with freedom and passion and love and connection, and then just continue to drive yourself in a box of working out harder, longer, and being obsessed with working out and eating food a certain way and following a perfect meal plan. Those are two completely different outcomes. So you've got to understand, what beliefs do I have, and are those beliefs lining me in the direction that I want to go? And if they are not, you must change your beliefs. Okay. And it's going to be uncomfortable, but that is a sign that you are on the route to change. Okay. Rather than continuing to just live through another day, living the same way creating the same thing that you've created day in and day out. Okay. So that's all I wanted to get on here, guys. So take a look at your beliefs, change them if you notice that they are not aligning with your vision. Okay. And this idea that we have to always work harder, that is one of the biggest beliefs that my clients face. They think that everything has to be hard and a chore, and there's a right and wrong way to eat. And thinking that way is just going to create a imprisonment of around your life and to looking fit. Okay. And it does not need to be that way. It's just because that you have this strong belief in that belief. Okay. All right, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to connect with me and send me a message. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll talk to you guys later.